what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, news director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
No, he makes up these stories, like there's a picture of a fighter jet. I used to be a fighter jet pilot. Then there's a picture of a truck. I used to drive a truck, and then there's a picture. It's just everything. This guy. The worst is, did you ever see his golf swing? He said he's a 6 handicap. 6 handicap's a good golfer. You know what he's 6 handicaps? That's a good golfer. This guy can't hit a ball to Christie. He's a 6 handicap. I think that's the greatest lie of all. Do you want to know the truth?
That's Trump doing a 10-minute set Iowa over the weekend.
Greatest lie of all is Trump's a 3 handicap.
And that he weighs 215 pounds. Love Trump. He should be president again. He does not weigh 215 pounds. But we're going to take some comedy from Trump. Then we're going to take some comedy from Biden. We're going to play the two, see what you think is best. Welcome to the show. Bill Eigel making it official on Friday. The state senator, St. Charles area, in an announcement Friday saying he is going to be running for governor. Wants to make a stop by here on the show this morning. What would he do on day one as governor? Bill Eigel here at 7:35. Before that, Scott Faughn, 7:10. Scott Faughn with the Missouri Times big event. So we've got the veto session coming up this week. It looks like, John, best we can tell, our veto session, state veto session, looks like it's just going to be kind of quiet, not a whole lot happening there. Is that the sense you're getting?
That's what we got from Representative Tolson Reich, wasn't it?
Not much. Tonight, two big events combined into one. The roast and a couple of lawmakers. Scott Faughn and the Missouri Times. I think Soybean Producers Association, they put on this roast of these lawmakers every year. It is really good. One of the best lines, actually, last year, and I think it had to do, actually, with Bill Eigel. And I can't remember, Brian Houseworth would know this, but some state rep in the Joplin area who owns a bowling alley, and apparently referring, and this was a line delivered by State Senator Lincoln Huff, who's getting some great name recognition throughout the state. I suspect he's going to run for something statewide. But anyhow, Lincoln Huff delivered the line, something about Bill Eigel being the guy's ball washer or something. I mean, it was, woo!
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. That's how we're playing tonight. So that's happening tonight. Also, we are honoring 30. I'm not doing it. Scott Faughn, Missouri Times, is 30 under 30. Can we talk about this, Hannah? Are you cool with this?
I mean,
how I ruined the whole surprise for you and everything?
It was posted on social media over the weekend. So
that you're going to be honored?
Yeah, so I think we're good.
Okay. So, Hannah, Scott Faughn, Missouri Times. Scott Faughn, you check out Missouri Times. Great publication when it relates to Missouri politics. Scott also hosts the TV show This Week in Missouri Politics, airs on Sundays. He covers Missouri things, how they are affecting us. Anyhow, so this event is tonight. And Hannah last week said, hey, just so you know, I'm not going to this. I'm like, all right. Knowing, John, that I
was originally planning on going, and then I made plans, so I was like, I don't think I'm going.
So then I had to ruin the surprise for Hannah. In the middle of the show, I'm stewing on this for 2 hours, guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm just going to have to go tell her. So I walk over because Hannah's got a different studio than us, which you can see if you're watching our show on our YouTube channel, Wake Up Mid-Missouri. So I just went up to Hannah, and I looked at her dead in the eyes, Brian, and I said, you really need to be at this thing Monday night.
And then you just walked away.
And then walked away. Well, I was trying not to, I didn't want to ruin it, but I had to. So, anyhow, Scott Faughn, he's here at 7:10 on the show. And also Tim Tinnin, Red Slipper Warrior Project. Big concert coming up this week. And Tim Tinnin, just a peach of a guy.
Oh, he is.
This project that he's done, how he got the name for his organization, Red Slipper Warrior Project. He put this together after his wife died of cancer. It's a really, really neat story. That's at 8:10. So we heard Trump's opening monologue. Now let's go to Joe Biden. And again, worldwide stage, we said immediately following the tragic events of January 20th, 2021, one of the biggest challenges for you as a citizen of the United States of America is when Joe goes out and fumbles on a worldwide stage.
We talked about at the conference overall, we talked about stability. We talked about making sure that the third world, the southern hemisphere had access to change it, had access. It wasn't confrontational at all. He came up to me and said,
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
They just cut him off. Corinne Jean-Pierre. Shush up! So now they're shouting out questions, and they're walking from the stage. This is music playing in the venue.
I've raised it with every person I've met with.
Mr. President, are you worried about your son being indicted, Mr. President?
He got shushed up by Corinne Jean-Pierre. He's talking. The White House spokesperson, Corinne Jean-Pierre, cut him off, cut off the president of the United States of America mid-sentence. And you know why? Because they're afraid of what he is going to say next.
I mean, do you blame them?
Stunning.
Yeah,
embarrassing. On a world, all these world leaders, man, think about this. They're all seeing this. Mm-hmm. They know the weakness that we have on full-fledged, on display, the weakness right now of the United States of America. And I know that you're hurting financially. I know gas prices, man, right now, you look at gas prices in Missouri, average price right now in Boone County, $3.67 a gallon. Cole County, $3.80 a gallon. Osage County, $3.83. Same thing in Miller County. So we know you're hurting. We know how much groceries are costing. You know what your retirement plan is doing. The other thing we have to think about is our standing on a worldwide stage, and worldwide leaders can continue to see this. You have a subordinate of Joe Biden cutting him off on a worldwide stage.
And I am surprised, and I know a lot of our listeners are not fans of the president. He is the president, though. I don't ever remember anything quite like what you just played where he is the president. If he wants to speak to the media and they were asking him questions and that music was distracting, by the way. I was a little confused by that. But it just, if he wants to talk, but I've never heard a spokesperson cut off the president of the United States like that. If it's happened, I don't remember it.
John, do you ever recall anything like this?
No, but it's kind of like the old cartoon where the Hook comes in from off stage and pulls the Pink Panther off while he's trying to perform.
And you're right, Brian. It should not happen. When you're president of the United States, you get some privileges, and you are shut off. You are told to shut the hell up by a subordinate. And you're right, the music is distracting, and that's exactly what it was intended for. We want to distract you from the fact that a subordinate of the President of the United States of America was told to shut up by a subordinate.
Anyone else find it ironic that he was talking about stability when he's like the least stable person I've ever seen?
And I'm guessing when he mentioned Southern Hemisphere and he didn't explain that, Mark Alford, and he didn't elaborate. I wish he could have been able to elaborate and had more time. But the congressman that represents part of Columbia, Mark Alford, has mentioned on this show, Brandon, not too long ago, that the Chinese are involved in trying to build airports and ports in the Southern Hemisphere. It's possibly he was talking about that, but we don't know.
So before all that started, headline, I'll show it. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, I'll show you the headline. No, I'm not making it up. Biden arrives in Vietnam, immediately gets confused by the stage. So Joe Biden shows up at this event.
Oh, man.
And he sees in this video, he's like, okay, these steps, I see these steps that come down off the stage to the floor. And Joe Biden asks, do these steps, do they also go up to the stage? I don't know if that's true or not. That's one of the things that Biden and I have in common. We are confused by stages, and we have proof of this.
Yeah, Brandon, you have fallen off of said stages.
Governor's prayer breakfast. Fortunately, there weren't a whole lot of people there. Well, there was like 800.
Yeah, just a few.
And the governor.
And the governor's wife, and the mascot for the Kansas City Chiefs, and lobbyists, and state reps, and state senators, and statewide elected officials watching me just...
Oh, and don't forget the pastor that you pulled off the stage with you.
The pastor I pulled down, that was January the 5th, 2023, fell off the stage. So Joe Biden and I have that in common. So White House Press Secretary KJP abruptly ended this news conference. And I want to make sure that we hear this again because this is stunning.
Had access. It wasn't confrontational at all. He came up to me and said,
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
God. Thank you, everybody. And so when people tell you, well, nobody's controlling the president. Yes, they are. Corinne Jean-Pierre and other folks asked, like, hey, what's going on here? KJP says, listen, Biden, he's good. He's vigorous. He's got plenty of energy. Well, then, if all of that is true, why also on the same stage? I don't know which is better, Hannah. Him getting told to shut up by KJP or this in the middle of a pretty big policy speech as it relates to China.
If you don't have a game plan, he may have a game plan. He just hasn't shared it with me. But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
What?
I'm going to bed. But wait, KJP says you have plenty of energy. You travel the world, and now you're up on a worldwide stage talking about some pretty in-depth, pretty important policy as it relates to other countries. Well, they don't have a game plan, but hell, I don't know about you. I'm calling it a day. That's the guy that people and these people that voted for him, my gosh, why? We said, we never say we told you so, but.
We told you so.
Wow. Incredible.
I mean, all that world traveling gives him time to take naps.
I don't know about you. I'm going to bed. Crazy. So some of the other things that are happening this morning, illegal immigration, man, this is causing real problems. New York City, the mayor there, Eric Adams, he is being called the Black Trump because he's saying, hey, listen, this illegal immigration, it is causing massive problems for us financially. Now he's going and saying, listen, we're okay, it's a sanctuary city. We can take care of these illegal immigrants, but guess what? We are going to have to go and start slashing budgets from everything else if you want to do this. The other thing that's happening now, we go to Chicago. In Chicago, you know where they're keeping illegal immigrants? The airport, O'Hare International, keeping them there. And they just usher them in. They have shut off part of the airport. Meanwhile, they used to keep some homeless people there, and homeless Americans would go through there. And if you wanted to spend the night at the airport in Chicago, at Chicago O'Hare's airport, these American homeless people, they had to go through a background check, had to show ID, all this kind of stuff. These are Americans. These are our fellow Americans. Regardless of their plot in life, they are Americans. The illegal immigrants, whose first act coming into this country is breaking the law by virtue of coming here illegally. These illegal immigrants are not from this country. No background checks, no nothing. Go ahead and come into this airport. We're not too far where we're going to put you up. We have people going through TSA screening because of what happened 22 years ago to this day. Somebody reminded me of a great statement from George Orwell. Truth, it's the new hate speech. During times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. Coming up just a few minutes from now, we are going. That
references your dad's T-shirt from the other day.
It does, yeah. The shirt. My dad was wearing. The shirt, and I remember
the big guy.
And I remember it was a cool shirt. I don't remember exactly what it said, but
it said 1984 is not an instruction manual.
Yeah, really good shirt. Coming up, Daily.
takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious.
Nina Jankowicz. Remember when they wanted to do the Ministry of Truth, the disinformation board the progressives did? Because, again, that truth is hate speech to them. First Amendment rights back in the news this morning in the Daily D.C. Rundown. I am Branden Rathert. Staff is back later this week. Federal Appeals Court whittling down a lower court's order curbing Biden administration communications with social media companies over controversial content about anything they find distasteful. Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. This was going down on Friday. Said the White House, the Surgeon General, the Centers for Disease Control, and the FBI cannot coerce social media platforms to take down posts the government does not like. The Missouri Attorney General's office was also part of this lawsuit. Court did throw out some broader language in an order that a Louisiana-based federal judge issued. Remember that earlier this summer on July the 4th? How cool was that day? So they were trying to clamp down on anybody that disagreed with them regarding things like COVID vaccines, the FBI's handling of a laptop that belonged to President Joe Biden's son Hunter, which we know the stuff on there, it was true now. They wanted to tamp down all of this. States Missouri and Louisiana filed the lawsuit along with a conservative website owner and 4 people opposed to the administration's COVID-19 policy. In a posting, Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry called Friday's ruling a major win against censorship. Attorney General Andrew Bailey saying, yep, this is a big win. Americans are looking back on the horror and legacy of 9/11, gathering today at memorials, firehouses, city halls, and elsewhere to observe the 22nd anniversary of the deadliest terror attack on U.S. soil. Commemorations stretch from the attack sites, New York's World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to Alaska and beyond. Biden, he's going to be doing something at a ceremony on a military base in Anchorage. A lot of activities happening here in mid-Missouri. Folks kind of calling for a day of service. Get together and let's do something. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is a man who is staying in motion, but beneath the whirlwind of activity is a stubborn standstill. Congress back in session this week looking at the possibility of another government shutdown. We go through this every year, don't we, John? Every September when everybody comes back.
The clockwork, it seems like, doesn't it?
And then the headlines. USA Today just recently had a headline, Americans fear another government shutdown. There are some people, when a government shuts down, there would be people on a federal level that would not be paid. But by and large, I don't think America fears the government shutdown. We're callous to it because the progressive news outlets come out and try to say, oh, God, the government's going to shut down. Americans are scared. They're trying to make you feel scared. It's not how it works. Biden, of course, as we've talked about, wrapped up a visit to Vietnam Monday, meeting with Vietnamese government officials and business leaders and telling them he wanted to take a nap, and that was before he was told to shut up by Karine Jean-Pierre. They cut the president of the United States of America. They cut his mic and ended it because what he was saying was not making sense. People in Morocco slept in the streets of Marrakesh for a third straight night as soldiers and international aid teams and trucks and helicopters began to
Trump presidency seriously enough?
I don't understand the question.
You were dismissive of some of the Republican criticism of you and the president. When you look at current polling, the front runner for a Republican nomination is the former president, the 45th president.
We will win re-election. We will win re-election.
That's Kamala. I don't understand the question. Hannah, I understood the question.
Are you taking the threat of a second Trump presidency seriously enough?
Do you understand the question, Hannah?
I do. I'm questioning the use of the word threat.
Marsh, do you understand the question?
They're kind of leaving me in the cold on that one.
Do you understand the threat? Are you taking it seriously? What do you mean? What's the question? I don't understand. And these are the people in leadership, man. How do these people? Hannah would be a better vice president than Kamala Harris.
Thanks, I think.
Goodness. It's just, wow. I don't understand. And they just, and the thing that bothers me the most, we can pick apart their policies using factual arguments. We can tell our friends who think they want to vote Democrat. We could tell progressives like, okay, you see all this stuff. And okay, so you think people should be able to, force a child to get gender reassignment surgery under the age of 12 without parental assignment. You want to tax more. You think all this. You think every American should be masked. You want to take away freedom of speech. You want to do all of that. Okay, you agree with that. We are never going to agree on that. But you all as progressives, you agree. But what do you think about these people, your heroes, people like Kamala and Biden? What do you think about when these people lie to you on a regular basis? Would like to ask these progressives, what do you think about that? And we tried doing this a couple of weeks ago. We had David Tyson Smith, local Democrat lawmaker. He understood the assignment. Come in, tell us why you think that way. He answered no questions. One of the best lines was from a listener. It says, David Tyson Smith sounds like he's auditioning for Dancing with the Stars because he's dancing around your questions. And that guy got points, and he was one of our winners of the week on a Feel Good Friday. So I wonder, and maybe that's the next assignment, when you meet these Democrats and progressives in your life, maybe ask them like, okay, so you think this and you think people should be able to get abortions up until the moment of birth. Okay, as disgusting as it is. But what do you think about the people that you voted for? You went to the polls. You made an effort to go to the polls that day. I'm guessing you probably really didn't do any research. They just had a D behind their name. You took the time out of your day. You stood in line. You filled out the paperwork. You showed your license. You waited in line again. You went and you sat down at that little booth and you took that little pen and you went and you filled out all those little circles. I vote for this person and that person and this person. And they lie to you. How do you feel about that? Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There's Mr. Marsh.
Good morning.
Highlight of your weekend?
MIZ.
Amen, man. How about, man, I agree with Mr. Hockman, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. A win is not a win. I was at the game following our tailgate on Saturday, and Mizzou not stopping Middle Tennessee State, who you think we should be posting 63 points on the board against a school like that, could not stop them on third down.
Yeah, it was a little rugged in places, wasn't it?
That was painful. And coming up this Saturday, Kansas State, both teams 2-0, should be a good game. We're doing the Tiger Tailgate again. We do it prior to every home game. What a great time we have. We get folks like Buffalo Wild Wings, Vaughn Pools and Spas, Big O Tires, Big Whiskeys, Casper 66 in Lynn. You go to these places, you can get your free Tiger Tailgate passes. Our Tiger Tailgate Saturday morning starts at 9. We feed you, we drink you, Bud Light, giving it away, high noon, Buffalo Wild Wings, Echo Water. Plenty of water, and it's the big water bottles. Somebody said, oh, my, that's a big bottle of water. It's not those little bottles of water. Hy-Vee, 20 Barbecue, and Tap Room. And I also want to mention this. We spoke with Mr. Shepherd, Shepherd's Distributing. They handle Bud Light. And we were talking. So, the Bud Light's free. And Joe Shepherd's approached me and John Marsh, and we had an interesting conversation with him. He said, hey, I heard you trying to defend our guys and learned kind of what these folks from these local distributors have been going through. These local distributors and this, by the way, what a valuable local employer Shepherd's Distributing is, the number of people that they have working there and the pay. It's a really good place to work. And these folks are getting flack for something they had nothing to do with. They had nothing to do with this. So don't take it out on them. Nothing to do with it. And it breaks my heart that these folks are getting razzed for something that they simply had nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, we were packed Saturday. Folks were asking, "Oh, why is your Tiger tailgate so busy?" I'm like, "Well, that's what happens when you give away free food and beer."
There it is.
It gets a little busy.
Everyone heard
crazy.
Yeah, everyone heard that the Branden Rathert and the John Marsh were going to be there.
Did you see the picture I posted on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page about the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas movie board with Johnny Depp, and then the picture of the bucket hat I wore with the shades?
I saw the post. I didn't know what the reference was made to, but I saw the post.
Yeah, there's a picture of me and Johnny Depp from the movie poster Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Great Hunter S. Thompson novel. Did you see it, Marsh?
Yeah, I thought you were channeling your best Hunter S. Thompson myself.
I was. Pretty cool. And then Friday night, we were at this chamber event, man, honoring a whole bunch of people. How cool was that, John?
That was fun. Boy, we had a good, gosh, the weather couldn't have been better.
It was just idyllic. And they did fireworks this year, which was really cool. I would really encourage you to go to the Facebook page because at the end, so it's getting smoky and everything because we've been firing off fireworks, getting ready for the Roseport Bridge to be torn down a couple of days after that. And they shot off these red fireworks and the smoke. It's a beautiful picture, if I do say so myself. It was stunning. Glad you could join us there. We certainly enjoyed meeting and talking with you. My biggest takeaway from the game, by the way, Saturday, two things. Number one, Go Como's supposed to be doing these shuttle services. And if you go to the Go Como website, it's a nice service, and it's not free. You know, you're still paying for it, right? Taxpayer dollars paying for it, so you may as well use it. But if you go to the Go Como website, it says buses will start leaving at the drop-off point there by the hospital at Tiger and Hospital Drive at the traffic circle. They start leaving at the end of the third quarter. There were a whole bunch of upset people. And I talked to the bus driver. I said, your website says you guys leave at the end of the third quarter. He says, no, leaves at the end of the game. So we ended up Ubering. There was a bunch of upset people. So I went and double-checked, and it says end of the third quarter. So I'll refrain from further comment. Maybe there was an issue. But if you go to the Go Como website, it says they leave at the end of the third quarter, and they were not leaving, and I was not. I got cranky.
That's what I was just getting ready to ask. I said, did you get cranky with the guy?
But it was quick.
Uh-huh.
And I tried not to, and I don't think anybody noticed. But
I'm sure the driver noticed.
I'm like, it says right here, you leave at the end of the third quarter. Nope, fourth quarter. All right. So it was just real quick. There were some upset people waiting for the buses because you said end of the third quarter. Be interesting to see what happened there. And here's the thing, and I hope there's some honest mistake, but the challenge is when you have a history of lousing stuff up, like a lot of things that when you deal with the city of Columbia, they have a history of lousing things up. So the first thought, why are you laughing?
Was that your word of the day on your calendar today? Lousing?
It's just a different. Messing, Well, I say when I talk about City of Columbia, I talk about how much they mess stuff up, screw stuff up. I've run out of superlatives to describe the ineptitude.
Don't push him. He might come up with the one we probably don't need.
Yeah.
I'll revert to foul language. One of my other big takeaways, they do the karaoke thing at the Mizzou games, which I love, and they're doing Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. This song came out in like 1981. This song is 42 years old. I was a little kid when this song came out. Love that song. Love it today. But I got some lyrics wrong.
Even I knew that.
Really?
Yes.
So some were born to sing the blues.
What did you think it was?
I always thought it was some of them will sing because they said some will win, some will lose, some of them will just sing the blues.
I thought it was some of them will chug the brews.
I guess there's 3 types of people in the world.
Some were born to sing the blues. And here's the thing. It's just a song. It's lyrics to a song, whatever. But what's hard is something I've believed for 42 years.
Like the butter cow.
Like
realization we had a couple weeks ago.
You believe something, and all of a sudden, facts are right in your face,
and you
challenging.
don't like it.
Yeah, you don't like it. whether it's politics or lyrics to a classic Journey song.
Or state fair delights like the butter cow.
Or state fair. I thought that damn butter cow was a full block of butter. It's not. It's a wire mesh cage, and they mold the butter around it. I just thought it was...
Illinois butter cow, we will add.
Coming up a few minutes from now, some of the numbers behind the demolition of the Rocheport Bridge. See the videos. Do you feel almost it was kind of anticlimactic after you watched the video? I mean, it's cool.
No, it was not anticlimactic.
Yeah?
It's an hour and a half late, but it wasn't anticlimactic.
Well, and I think that's what made it anticlimactic. It was kind of like, oh, yeah, it's late. And then 60 years that bridge stood there. In 3 seconds, boom. Gone. Some of the numbers behind that coming up about 5 minutes from now here on the show. The other thing we're going to be doing, Scott Faughn is here talking about previewing the upcoming veto session in Missouri this week and the 30 under 30 event, which Hannah is surprised. Got to be a part of. It's coming up.
Up 6.
Morning Bell coming up at 8:25. We'll look at your futures. And if you've thought about retiring in your 50s, 3 big things you want to know, we will do that for you at 8:25 this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There's Mr. John Marsh.
Good morning.
Producer Hannah is here. What was the highlight of your weekend?
Got to watch my first Friday night football game. Friday night, duh.
What night was it? What color's the White House? What year was the War of 1812 fought?
Got to hang out at the Central Bank tailgate Friday night with our friends Aaron Hart and Kevin Hilly.
Where are Panama hats made?
Panama, duh.
But it was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. Got free food, got a nice T-shirt, and got to watch a good football game.
As a matter of fact, John and I were chatting with Ken from Central Bank Friday at the Chamber event where they honored some folks for the work that they've done here in town over the years. And Ken was one of those. I guess last year we were talking to him, and he's like, well, I'll check your show out. Friday night, he was incredibly gregarious, very complimentary of Hannah and Steph and Marsh and Brian Houseworth. And he says, yep, I listen every morning. It's Can't Miss Radio. And he says, but you know what I haven't done? I haven't watched. I haven't watched it.
Those darn bankers.
we appreciate the support either way.
Fire in the hole!
Anybody go and watch the old Rocheport Bridge get demolished? A lot of folks apparently showing up various areas around the bridge, see stuff get blown up. It was kind of interesting. It was about 3 seconds to fall, and now there's millions of tons worth of steel down in the river. 6 million pounds of steel dropped into the river during the planned demolition Sunday morning, and they had a fog delay. So moving forward now, a couple of things we're looking forward to. The bridge should ideally, the whole thing should all be done December 2024. Bridge is expected to open to traffic in December of 2024, so a little over a year from now. So in the bridge's old place, there's going to be a new span to carry eastbound traffic. That's going to be constructed beginning almost immediately. So if you're cruising through that area, 70 and Rocheport Bridge, they might already be working on that new bridge this morning. Already in the other place, a bridge that's more than 3,100 feet long, and each bridge will have 3 lanes of traffic. So something to look forward to. Just not right now. It'll just take us a while to get there. But it will be something to look forward to.
Fingers crossed that it finishes on time.
What they have, 24 hours to get the steel out of the river and open it back up to navigation and stuff. So I wonder if they, coming up pretty quick here.
Well, apparently they had considered some other ideas. They thought, hey, why don't we just dismantle it piece by piece? And I thought, no, let's blow it up, man.
Wonder if they've found those cows that jumped over, over the ledge.
I didn't want to say anything, but I was wondering about those cows that committed suicide off the bridge earlier this summer. Whenever the thing overturned, they had cows jumping off the bridge. I wonder if those were recovered.
But no, I don't know if you watched the video, but the whole bridge fell in what looked like one piece. I thought that was interesting. I was expecting, crumbling. And it looks like they pretty much blew both ends off at the same time, and it just fell all in one big piece.
And I had that same observation, and it made me marvel at the things that mankind can do, the engineering and everything that goes into making sure that bridge fell exactly the way it did. It did. It almost looked like one piece. It's the same thing.
Yeah, demo guys are pretty slick. It's pretty much a science doing that.
It's like they know what they're doing or something.
You would hope.
Did you see the one guy on the explosives team on the bridge on the back of his shirt? It says, if you see me running, you better run too. Did anybody?
Better catch up.
I did notice he had 8 fingers.
And they call him Lefty. But it makes me marvel at what it is that man can do. And then the next big question I have, when are they going to do that to the tri-level? When are they going to bring that thing down? My goodness. We were chatting with some other folks in Jefferson City Friday night, some business leaders, thought community leaders, and they said almost privately, and I don't know, I mean, everybody realizes the tri-level going in Jefferson City is a mess, and it has been even prior to that accident last month. I guess everybody knows that, and even folks that have been on there for a while, like, yeah, it could be better, but the challenge would be, how do you fix it? But we had some thought leaders saying, man, we're glad that you guys have been talking about that, because it's affecting us here in the city. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Some of the things coming up on the show this morning. Scott Faughn is here talking about the veto session. John, it seems like it's going to be kind of quiet this week.
It does seem like it's going to be just kind of in and out in a hurry from the sound of it.
Why did you say the Q word?
They meant the veto session.
I know, but still. That's like a superstition thing.
The what word?
The Q word.
What Q word did I say? Quiet. Oh, yeah, it's going to be quiet.
That's like a big first responder thing. Like, you never say the Q word because as soon as you say it, stuff hits the fan.
So Scott Faughn's going to preview that for us. He's also going to be talking about the 30 under 30. Folks are going to be honored kind of in the political realm tonight, and I had to ruin the surprise for Hannah, and I didn't know how to handle that. How would you let me ask, so here's what happened. She's one of the 30 folks under the age of 30 being honored at this thing tonight. She voluntarily, wasn't even asking her about it. Last week, she says, hey, so are you going to that thing? I'm like, yeah, I'm going. She says, well, I'm not going. I'm like, okay. Knowing full well, because we nominated her and she's going to be honored. So knowing full well she's going to be a part of this thing tonight, and I didn't know what to do, so
you waited 2 hours.
While I twisted it around in my head on how to deal with this, and then I went
the dime in St. Charles County right now. The old Polk County sheriff has outsmarted everybody, and so veto session will be the most boring thing you've ever seen.
All right, Scott Faughn.
Except for the St. Charles County people complaining, but that will happen.
Now, when you say St. Charles County people, our guest is 735. Bill Eigel, state senator. He's running for governor, state senator, St. Charles area. Are you talking about him specifically?
I'm talking about William Eigel. Yes, he would be the leader of said faction, and he knows. He knew it. He knew it was going to happen when he did it all. I love Bill, and Bill is getting in full campaign mode. He went from on my show. It was so great. I always listen to you guys, at least for a chunk of my morning. And I asked him on my television show, well, you wanted these vetoes overridden, but you voted against the budget bill. The governor's agreeing with you. He's like, well, I want this money spent in St. Charles. I was like, oh, so you want the budget smaller, but you want money spent for your district. Like, now, wait a minute. And then I saw, and he was like, well, he had an explanation. Then I saw on your show, you were like, now, hold on. If you just end property tax, and you in income tax, how will you fund schools? And he was basically like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. Those schools will be fine. Those teachers will work for free. He's just getting in. He's getting in campaign mode. And I'm going to tell you guys, I went to his event Friday night in St. Charles County. It's actually, there is a part of St. Charles County that's not awful. It's in the far, far north part. It's great. The very northern tip of St. Charles County isn't just a disgusting mix of cul-de-sacs and vinyl siding. It's really pretty up there. Bill Eigel, and I'm telling you, this is probably, gosh, at that time of the day, I bet it was 25 minutes north of I-70. There was probably 1,000 to 1,250 people there. I mean, he had one of the most impressive campaign events I've ever been to. I mean, it was just packed. And Bill Eigel, in my opinion, is the best orator in the party. He's the best on TV. He's the best on radio. Bill is a political talent, and I'm going to tell you, he packed that place out. He has a lot to be proud of from that event. You should ask him about it.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for joining us. And Senator Eigel is going to join us on that. I also would say that Senator Nick Schroer is going to go to the floor as well. There's no question about that. And they'll be able to make their...
Brian, did you just say a suburban legislator is going to complain? No, I can't believe it.
Well, they'll make their point. They'll make their point. But I appreciate. I want to ask you a question. There's going to be an event tonight, a roast, if you will, for two lawmakers that fly under the radar. Dan Houks, who've carried the gaming bill. He is from Warrensburg, and Jeff Knight. A lot of people you know better than anybody. Chairs rules, very powerful from down in Lebanon. And you tweeted yesterday, Scott, they're going to be roasted at your event tonight, the Soybean Association. You tweeted yesterday that Representative Houks had an event and has announced his intention to run for the Senate, but I wasn't sure the Senate seat. Is that the Hoskins seat that now takes in Cooper County? And if that's the case, Richie's in there, and so is Curtis Gregory, or is this a different seat?
Well, it was redistricted. So Diddy Hoskins is from Warrensburg, right, as is Dan Houks. The redistricting took place, and it basically left it cut that district up considerably. That district in Warrensburg now goes west into Cass County, and I believe down into Bates County. So it's against Rick Bratton, an incumbent state senator who's running for re-election. Now, the interesting part about this is Cass County is the chunk of that district. It's suburban Kansas City. Then there's some actual good parts of Cass County as you get further south. And Warrensburg and Johnson County, just great folks. Wyman Air Force Base, just good people, and good folks like that. Well, Dan is from the smallest part of the county. And so you would normally think, I mean, we all like to think, these votes matter, that vote matters. Well, really, in rural Missouri, it's where are you from, where's your kinfolks from, that kind of thing. Well, Houks would be at a disadvantage being that Brad's incumbent, and Houks is from the smallest part of the district. However, Mike Hafner, a very well-respected legislator from Cass County, has also said he's thinking about running. And if he does that, that'll split up Cass County and give Houks a very good chance to win that seat. And his case is this. Look, we can have a senator, and this is his perspective, that goes on the floor, complains, jams up everybody's legislation, and then when he wants to block a landfill, he has like 3 friends. The rest of the state, I mean, if that was Mike Searpoy trying to block that landfill they're trying to build in Kansas City, which would impact a lot of Cass County negatively, they feel, that thing would have passed 30-4. But if Rick Bratton, who spent most of session jamming up other legislators, tries to do that, well, he gets no support whatsoever. So I think that's how his point is. We can have somebody that complains, or we can have somebody that passes bills. Take your pick. And he's on the bill passing side.
All right, our guest, Scott Faughn, Missouri Times, also hosts the TV show every Sunday, This Week in Missouri Politics. So there's a roast tonight for Representative Dan Houcks. This is going to be a blast. Last year, I think one of the more memorable lines was one delivered by State Senator Lincoln Huff. And I can't remember the names. You might have to fill in some of the holes here, Scott, but I think it was Lincoln Huff delivered the line. He was talking about the state rep out of the Joplin area owned a bowling alley and something about some politician being his ball washer. Oh, God.
Yeah, I remember that. Brandon, you're the professional radio, so I'm not sure how much of that joke we can tell on the radio. So I'm just going to guidance from you there.
Yeah, it was a good line. Scott Faughn joining us. So this roast tonight, and then also celebrating 30 under 30. Did you hear how I had to approach Hannah on this? She last week she said, "Hey, are you going to this the roast and the 30 under 30?" Scott, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'll be there." And she says, "Yeah, I'm not going. I got some other things to do because she's getting married and stuff. It keeps her busy."
I might have heard.
Yeah, and then so for 2 hours I stewed on, okay, how do I handle this? So
which you played it off very well initially.
Yeah, I think I hid my disappointment that Hannah said she's not going to be there. I'm like, she's got to be there. This is kind of a big deal when you're getting honored by Scott Faughn in the Missouri Times. So after 2 hours, I went back into her studio, Scott, and I looked her in the eyeballs, and I said, you need to be at this thing Monday night. And then
he just walked away, Scott.
I walked away.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So tell the genesis. What's the 30 under 30 event about?
There's a lot of people that work in and around the public policy process that are younger folks. It draws a lot of folks. I was personally someone in my 20s that worked in politics. No one honored me, by the way. They were mostly glad when I quit. But there's a ton of work that goes in. And really, a lot of times it's your job, like Hannah's job, is to make the show sound good, first and foremost, right? And they don't really get a lot of credit that they deserve, but they add a lot to the public policy process, be it in the media, lobbying, on staff, elected officials, and they add probably more than they get credit for. So it was a time that I thought we could come together, Republicans, Democrats, tell some good jokes, have a good time, and also recognize some young folks that maybe don't always get their due. And I've been very proud to have. A lot of times when somebody's got a job opening, they'll call me and they'll ask about somebody from that 30 under 30. They'll Google them, and sometimes when you're younger, that's one of the things that pops up on a Google search, and they'll call and ask me about it, and they get identified for different jobs or opportunities kind of based upon being called out and recognized. So I have a pretty good network of people in and around politics that I can draw from, and then my own interactions and say, okay, who is somebody that is an up-and-comer? Who's somebody you should keep an eye out for? And it's something we've done this for 5 years now. I think this is maybe the sixth. Actually, Lincoln was the first one we roasted, which was a target-rich environment. Mm-hmm. The second one of these we did, Quentin Lucas came, was during COVID, and the Star wrote some hand-wringing liberal weirdo stuff about, oh, no, you're all going to die of COVID. No one, by the way, died of COVID from our roast that I know of. And if they did, walk it off.
Things happen.
On it. But it's a fun time to have a good time, bipartisan, bring people together. And it's a good time to recognize some folks that maybe don't always get their due. Like maybe they're a producer of a very popular ratings-heavy show, and maybe the host takes a lot of the credit for himself. And it's a great way to recognize his staff and things.
Amen.
I tell the team members, I highlight them as much as I can. I nominate them for awards. I take them out for lunch. I try to do everything I can for them. So I'm excited that Hannah is going to be honored tonight. Folks want to go see the roast, see this. What do we need to know? Tickets? What's the deal?
Soybean Association. Don't need a ticket. Just come. Be my guest. We'll start about 6. We'll probably start telling jokes around 7. We do have one very special person. We had Dean Plocker's going to roast, Cinder Brown, my Irish friend Ryan McKenna, so that poem won't be that funny. Carrie Engel will be great, but Cindy O'Loughlin, who, if you don't know Cindy O'Loughlin, you're probably afraid of her, and for good reason. But she's going to be so hilarious because Cindy O'Loughlin has a way even when she's not like super laugh out loud funny, that humor is dry enough. It goes all the way around the world. It's freaking hilarious.
I love it.
So
Cindy
she's going to tell
O'Loughlin.
some jokes tonight. It'll be a fun time.
All right, Scott Faughn, this week in Missouri politics. Look for the television show on Sundays and check out his website, Missouri Times. We'll look forward to seeing you tonight, man.
Thank you, sir. See you then.
See you, bud. Coming up, we're going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah.
Story of an HOA that overstepped their bounds.
It's coming up, 7:25. 5-ish, which means it's
7:25.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
I have a story about why HOAs suck. And it's a good example of why I will never willingly live in an area where there's an HOA. My fiance and I are in agreement on this because HOAs have lots of silly rules, and they cracked down on a 17-year-old's pet tortoise in Alabama. 17-year-old Jaden had been living with Fred the tortoise since 2015, and him and his family received a notice out of nowhere recently from their neighborhood's HOA saying that Fred the tortoise was not on the approved list of pets for the neighborhood. Now, granted, the approved list of pets came out after Fred came to live with the family. So, in my opinion, he should be grandfathered in. But the internet got real upset about this one. Because Fred the tortoise, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these gigantic tortoises in real life.
Like the ones that kids can ride?
Yeah, they're huge. They are very slow moving. They don't make a lot of noise. They don't, crap all over the neighbors' yards.
They eat and sleep. That's about it.
Pretty much, and they live to be up to like 250 years old. That might be an exaggeration, but anyway, the neighborhood went viral on the internet because folks were trying to save Fred the tortoise. They also thought that Fred should be grandfathered in and should not be kicked out. And they got enough media attention that the HOA reversed their decision.
I love that. And here, those HOA things, and I'm with you. I wouldn't want to live there where we got this rule. Because they seem to get, like, people on office party planning committees and people on HOA boards. They take that stuff way too seriously. And it gets really political. And they get power. And probably not all of them. I'm sure there's some fine HOA boards here in mid-Missouri. But my experience has been, man, they come in like clipboard and a pen and pulling up there. I'll tell you can't keep that turtle, like they're pulling up their britches, like they get power. They feel like I've got some power here.
Well, and it's a 17-year-old kid. Yeah. And the other thing I don't understand, I love dogs, okay? But I know that dogs can be annoying to neighbors, if they bark a lot, if they go to the bathroom in your yard. So I don't understand how dogs could be approved on the list. This quiet little tortoise.
Was it a barking tortoise? or like Uncle Bernie used to say all the time, blame it on the end. That barking spiders here in the house.
I've never seen a barking tortoise. I'm not going to say that means it's not possible, but I have never seen or heard of one.
Incidentally, I've never seen a barking spider. Now, when I was a little kid and I'd stay at Uncle Bernie's house, we heard a lot of barking spiders, but I've never, ever once in my life seen a barking spider. So they got enough. They got enough attention, and that proves, I think, another point. And I'm going to stereotype a little bit here, but these people, they get on these boards, homeowners association, because we like to tell people what to do. And I understand you move into a neighborhood, they have rules. You got to follow those rules. So don't move into a neighborhood that has a homeowners association. But these people get power hungry. But it shows, see, when you get enough pressure, when you push for something, sometimes smarter folks prevail.
And the internet is a very useful tool.
Coming up, a few minutes.
nicest people to deal with. I think I've tried to tell you all they complain just a skosh about, well, everything.
All right, Scott Faughn.
Except for the St. Charles County people complaining, but that will happen.
Now, when you say St. Charles County people, our guest is 735, Bill Eigel, state senator. He's running for governor, state senator, St. Charles area. Are you talking about him specifically?
I'm talking about William Eigel. Yes, he would be the leader of said faction.
All right, and that said state senator Bill Eigel and gubernatorial candidate joining us on the show now. What's Scott Faughn talking about there, Bill?
well, good morning. Happy Monday.
Right.
I think he's talking. He is right in the sense that as government has gotten bigger and bigger down in Jefferson City, our objections have gotten louder and louder. And, St. Charles County is a growing county. We are sending some of the most conservative members of the legislature to Jefferson City right now. And we clash, quite frankly, with some of the big government Republicans down there. So I know Scott meant that in the best way possible. But, hey, as long as they're trying to grow government in Jefferson City, we're going to continue to object.
And here's the thing. There's got to be a line somewhere, and I believe in standing up for yourself, whether it's your personal life, whether it's when you're an elected servant. You got to stand up for yourself from time to time. Do you think you ever maybe blur the lines like, okay, I'm just right now complaining too much, or, man, I'm really standing up for something I feel strongly about? Is there a time or two where you look back and go, yeah, maybe I was just being cranky?
No.
All right.
No, I mean, it's easy to be cranky because there's a lot to complain about in Jefferson City. Let's be honest. I mean, there is of all the problems that I talk a lot about the problems that we have in Missouri. A lot of them are driven by the government in Jefferson City or the lack of what that government is failing to accomplish in Jefferson City. So, I frankly think we need more folks out there in the legislature that are willing to stand up and actually say something about the things that have been going wrong.
What is one of the biggest problems in your mind that we have right now in the state of Missouri, Mr. Eigel?
Too much government and too much taxation. I mean, let's get rid of personal property tax. Let's get rid of income tax. Let's instead of doubling the size of the state budget, let's take that money and roll it back into tax cuts that are actually going to get this economy growing. I mean, we're missing our chance to be leading this country the same way Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. And don't get me wrong, I love those states, but I am sick and tired of turning on my TV in the morning and hearing about all the great things that those states are doing and not the state of Missouri. In fact, some of even our closer competitors than those states. We hear over the weekend that Sarah Huckabee Sanders down in Arkansas is calling her legislature into a special session to get rid of the income tax. We're seeing bold leadership from Kim Reynolds up in Iowa. Where's Missouri? And unfortunately, the answer is we have a governor, Mike Parson, who is leading us to a big government future. No one in the history of the state of Missouri has loved spending the taxpayer dime more than Mike Parson, and that includes every Democrat going back to the founding of the state. So I think we should be doing a lot better, and I'm talking to Republicans all over the state that are as angry as I am.
Have you said that to Mike Parson, what you just told us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri? Have you said that to Mr. Parson?
I have. I've only seen Mike Parson, I think, twice since the beginning of this year because he's pretty absent when it comes to actually passing legislation in the Capitol when we're down there in session. And one of them was at the State of the State address where he just spent an hour talking about what he wanted to spend government money on new government programs. So I really feel like we have diverged from what we were promising the voters. And I hate to say it, it's not going to get better until we have somebody in the governor's office who's actually going to do what they promised in campaign season.
All right, our guest, state senator from the St. Charles area, Bill Eigel, making it official on Friday, saying he is running to be Missouri's next governor. He's joining us this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Senator, after last session where you had your famous filibuster and you were working on your personal property tax bill and got all spooled up with the legalized sports betting and all, I guess the question is, when everybody comes back in January in Jefferson City, you're going to take up right where you left off.
Well, I think that when we come back in Jefferson in January, part of the biggest disappointment that we saw in government in Jefferson City this year was the fact that we couldn't even get final votes on the issues that mattered most to a broad section of Republicans, whether it was getting a final vote on initiative petition reform, whether it was getting a final vote on personal property tax, whether it was getting final votes on defending Missouri farmland. Our leadership continued to find ways to drive us into the ditch and prevent those big ideas, those big policy initiatives from getting to the governor's desk. So I think we're going to be focused very much this year on forcing votes in the legislature to really contrast, really highlight who are the real Republicans and who are the rhinos. We did this a couple of years ago, or I guess 1 year ago. We did this a year ago, and it really highlighted, hey, who was actually doing what they said they would in campaign season, or who was actually just going along with the status quo. So as you guys know, we came out and tried to extend an olive branch to our colleagues this year. I'm here to tell you guys this morning that was a mistake. That was a mistake because our offer of goodwill and our outreach to offer an olive branch really was just turned away by the moderates and the liberals and the Republican caucus. And so I think this year you're going to see a different route from us.
Senator, we appreciate you joining us. Obviously, very interesting about from your perspective about the governor, and your quote here is that he's leading the state to a big government future. You write something as well, one sentence in your official announcement. I'm going to read it and I'm going to ask you to elaborate. This is, I think, pretty powerful. Quote: Missourians are tired of sending uniparty Republicans to Jefferson City that hold Missouri back from big conservative wins that all of us are desperate for. End of quote. Clearly, you're referring to the governor. You referenced that. Let's name names. Who else are you referring to, Senator?
Well, how about Lincoln Huff? Lincoln Huff is the budget chairman in the Senate. He has a voting record that indicates he votes with the Democratic caucus at least half of the time, and he has grown some of the biggest leaps in the size and scope of government through the state budget since he's been a state senator. So I think that's someone. I think you guys know that I've had some policy disagreements with the senator from Columbia there, Caleb Rowden, and I think that Caleb, has been one of the key figures in derailing, as a member of leadership now for the past 5 years. He has been derailing a lot of these things that haven't gotten to the finish line. I mean, look at all the things that didn't get done last year. A lot of that, it wasn't because we didn't have enough Republicans in the chamber, but the leadership backed by a majority of that caucus just wasn't serious about getting those big policy ideas done. So, yeah, I think that we have a real problem. When I say we have a uni-party going to Jefferson City, guys, the government in Jefferson City has grown from you've heard me say this, $20 billion in 2010 to $53 billion this year. Had we taken just a fraction of that money, instead of just spending it on wasteful spending items, which I've also talked about, we could have gotten rid of personal property tax. We darn near could have gotten rid of income tax by this point. But did we do those things so that we could put ourselves on track and on pace with Florida and Texas and now Arkansas and Iowa? No, we didn't. We wasted the money. We're still wasting their money. So it's really frustrating. And again, I have now put 40,000 miles on my truck, traveling all over the state. And what just blows my mind is if you're in Jefferson City, these Republicans, the leadership, the governor, they think things are going great. They think they're doing a great job. But outside Jefferson City, Republicans are furious. They are so sick and tired because they don't see a difference between the Democrats and most of the Republicans in Jefferson City. They keep voting to see an accomplishment, all of the things that I'm talking about every 2 years, but they never quite get it. And, I've heard the Governor Parsons say before that the buck stops with him. Well, fantastic. We need a new change of direction.
State Senator Bill Eigel, Rep. St. Charles, running for governor, made it official on Friday night. Who were one or two names that attended your event Friday night that are showing support for you that you're especially excited to have in your run for Missouri's governor?
Well, the first person that I'm excited about is my wife and co-pilot of 23 years, my wife, Amanda. And by the way, I think that's something that not a lot of folks don't know yet, but when they get the chance to meet my wife, Amanda, she is an Air Force veteran, an ultramarathon runner. She is a cancer survivor. When they find out how fantastic a first lady she's going to be for this great state, I think they're going to be as excited as I am to have her on my side and have her as their advocate. So that's somebody that I'm excited about. I got my whole family, my children, Kevin and Lisa, there, and we had upwards of 1,000 friends and other supporters show up to the small airfield, Smart Field up in St. Charles County. That was amazing to me. It is by far the biggest launch of any gubernatorial candidate so far, and it really speaks to the fact that the other candidates are talking about having grassroots support. I actually have it because folks are actually showing up to support our message, whether it's the donors that we have. We have more donors than all of the other candidacies combined. We have more support for our event than all the other candidacies combined. And there's a lot of energy and excitement to see this bold new conservative Missouri that I'm talking about actually become a reality in 2024.
So as far as on the support, some of the folks that you were especially excited to see at your event Friday night, I love the answer. Probably almost as much as your wife, Hannah, our producer, Hannah, who you know is sitting across. We both smiled when we said, who are you proud to have there? You said your wife. We both said, good answer, Bill. What about in the political realm, current elected servants that were at your event Friday night that you were especially excited to have there to show their support for you?
Sure. Well, we had some members of the former conservative caucus that were there to support me. Denny Hoskins and Andrew Koenig were both there. We had a tremendous number of Central Committee members. Gosh, I don't have enough time to list off all the Central Committee members, whether it's from St. Charles, whether it's from other counties. We had Central Committee members from as far away as Branson and Joplin who drove 4 hours at Kansas City, drove 3.5 hours to be there. So I'm probably not going to have any statewide office holders come out and endorse me and support my candidacy because I'm the one that's saying that they're the problem. So I'm not expecting that, but we have support from Republican officials, from state senators. We had state reps there. I think we had 4 or 5 state reps there. So this is a candidacy that is getting a lot of traction, and we're doing it, and we're going to take Jefferson City by surprise. Everybody in Jefferson City is busy saying, oh, he can't do this. There's no way he can win. He doesn't have enough money. He doesn't have enough name ID. That's fantastic. The surprise is just going to be that much more sweet when the Patriots across the state overthrow the status quo in Jeff City.
Mr. Eigel, anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
Hey, one quick thing. If I can make a comment on what that governor is doing out in the state of New Mexico, trying to suspend the First and Second Amendment, that is the definition of tyranny. Yeah. And it will never happen in the state of Missouri when I'm the governor of this state. We're going to go after it and fight that kind of tyranny and be a leader against it.
State Senator Bill Eigel, Rep. St. Charles, and made it official on Friday, running for governor, something we knew for a while, but had the big launch on Friday. We're appreciative of your time this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, sir.
Wow.
The New Mexico governor, that was crazy. And
I'm the New Mexico thing notwithstanding, I think Senator Eigel is clearly positioning himself. I mean, he has a following in the grassroots, and the people may not realize he definitely does. Will it be enough to win a primary? I'm not sure. Brandon, you asked great questions about who from the political world was there, but these are grassroots people that were there. I thought the most interesting thing he said there was about Lincoln Huff, because we've heard that from some other Republicans as well, but Senator Huff does represent a very swing district. I think he only got 55% of the vote in that district, but I believe he said Huff votes at least half the time, maybe if I heard him right, with the Democrats. So it'll be interesting to see that, and he definitely did not mince words about the governor there either.
Coming up 8:10, Tim Tinnin, Red Slipper Warrior Project. What a neat project this is. The story behind the genesis of it is just incredible, very inspiring. We're going to hear the story. Big Joe Nichols concert coming up Saturday. Tim Tinnen's going to be here for a few minutes. Coming up 5 minutes from now, we're going to be doing, and that would be all. Except for this, what can we look forward to, man?
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a sub.
It's a bird.
500 up 6.
Futures coming up at 8:25. One of the things we're going to be doing in the Morning Bell this morning, 3 things to know if you want to retire in your 50s. The Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell. Stephanie's actually going to be back later this week. We will do that for you at 8:25. By the way, weather today is looking really, really good. So today our high is going to be 77. Maybe looking at some rain later.
And that would be all, except for this.
You might get sandwiched in this sandwich. Subway recently unveiled its promotional traveling 180-foot-long blimp. You may have seen it over Arrowhead the other day in the shape of its new half-pound sandwich that they call the Beast, and it doubles as a floating restaurant above the ground. It looks like a half-wrapped sub, but the Subway in the sky might leave a bad taste in your mouth. As one reporter said, I thought there'd be more space inside the blimp, which was described as a dining experience taking to the skies. Instead, I found myself sandwiched inside the sandwich, 2 rows of 4 seats just behind the cockpit. Now, we will say this was a reporter from the KC Star, and they don't like anything. Before climbing aboard, passengers, they got a lunchbox with samples of the new Deli Hero sandwiches. Subway in the Sky was at Arrowhead just the other night for the Chiefs-Detroit kickoff game. And they sold out the reservations in 17 minutes and will continue to make stops around NFL venues all season long. So no word about how much they'll charge you for extra meat.
I'm wondering why the Oscar Wienermobile, why they haven't made that into a blimp yet. I mean, like a big old giant hot dog.
That's an idea.
Like about this big. Just flying through the sky.
Didn't Elon Musk already do that?
A flying hot dog? I don't know.
Remember the rocket that he went up to the edge of space in, and it looked a little phallic?
Yeah.
It's not funny if I have to explain it, guys. Come on.
Well, it's just my mind
sure
is. It's not in the gutter, and so you got to.
Your mind's not in the gutter.
Walk me through this stuff.
Biggest lie I have heard in a while.
Hannah. All right, so a little laugh before you head into work. Don't forget, when you do get into work, by the way, you can listen online just because you're not in your car. You don't have the car radio. You can go to our websites, 939theeagle.com, KWOS.com, and front and center. Listen live. And how about these new apps, Hannah? How cool and convenient are these? Heard a lot of this when I was hanging out at our Tiger Tailgate Saturday.
They're pretty cool if I do say so myself.
What's the biggest benefit over the older apps that we had?
2 of my favorite things. One is all of our station's podcasts are linked all in one place, straight on the app. So it makes it super easy to find those and to listen to those. And when we're live on Facebook or YouTube, the video feed will be on the home screen of the app. So you can click it and it'll take you right there.
Yeah, and you get, whenever you watch, the cool thing about watching, and listen, I get it. You're driving to work. You should not be watching Wake Up Mid-Missouri in your car on the apps, okay? Don't do that. But people, like in the morning, they're getting up and they're putting it up on the smart TV while the kids getting ready and everything. Businesses are putting it up in their business places so they get some local news analysis.
We're kind of a big deal.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
We talked to one of the people at the tailgate the other day who said they were doing just that. Didn't the lady tell us?
Yeah, she told us. She says, yep, we put it up on our TV every morning. We would highly encourage you to do the same. Tim Tinnin, Red Slipper Warrior Project. Great program. Big concert coming up Saturday night. He's here 10 minutes from now.
excuse me, third world, the Southern Hemisphere had access to change it, had access. It wasn't confrontational at all. He came up to me.
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you hear what just happened there? Corinne Jean-Pierre, White House press person, shut down. She told Hannah. Am I exaggerating to say she told Joe to shut up?
Yeah, a little.
And this music, by the way, you hear reporters still trying to ask questions. They're blaring this music to be distracting. President of the United States shut up by one of his press people. Wow. Welcome into it. My name is Branden Rathert. There's John Marsh.
I think they should have played some little more up-tempo music. He might have put the president to sleep before he got off the podium.
Something psychedelic or something. That is just some stunning developments. And again, here's why this matters. It's not just some guys, some smart conservative dudes coming on the radio saying, what an idiot. That's not what it's about, mostly. It's about that president, Joe, he's on a worldwide stage. The United States of America has always been the greatest country on the planet. How do you know? Just ask us. We'll tell you. We're the best. We knew, even prior to the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021, one of the things that was really going to take a hit was our standing on the worldwide stage. And besides Afghanistan and then Russia invading Ukraine because of Joe's sloppy Afghanistan pullout, that's according to NATO, we saw what that did to us. And now things like this. And I don't know if they have late-night television in all these other countries, but if they did, they would be looking at us and pointing and laughing. It's incredibly sad. So these things, that's why it matters. Welcome to the show. Wake up, Mid-Missouri. Hopefully you had a great weekend, getting excited. So John and I were hanging out at the Tiger Tailgate on Saturday. We've got another one coming up this Saturday. We do it before every single home game. Here's what you can do. You can go to places. So let's say like if you're in Boonville, you can go to Club Car Wash. If you're in Jefferson City, you can go to Vaughn Pools and Spas. And in Columbia, you can go to Twain, Missouri Barbecue and Tap Room. What we do is we hook you up with Buffalo Wild Wings, Bud Light, High Noon, Echo Water. Hy-Vee helps us out. Twain Barbecue and Tap Room. Mention them. Go to the websites, 939theeagle.com or kwos.com, and you can find info on there. Get your free passes. Come join us 2 hours prior to every kickoff. 11 o'clock is the start time for Saturday's game. Again, and this is going to be a big game, John. You got a couple of 2-0 teams. K-State is ranked. It's going to be a good time on Saturday.
Let's hope.
Man, and I will say this, a win is a win is a win, but Mr. Hockman for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, one of the sports writers, I think he wrote a really good article. He said a win is not a win. And being at that game Saturday night, John, you were there. It was like, man, you can't stop these guys on third down. There was a lot of boos against Mizzou. But it still counts as a win in the win column, and hopefully this will be the week that they post up some big numbers on K-State. So come join us at those Tiger tailgates. Another big thing happening this weekend after the ball game. I love this Red Slipper Warrior Project. These folks do incredible work. One of the big things they do every year is they put on a charitable concert. Joe Nichols, country superstar Joe Nichols, playing this Saturday, September 16th, starts at 7:30. This is at the Cap Region MU Healthcare Amphitheater. Tim Tinnin is the founder of the Red Slipper Warrior Project. I've got a good friend we've talked about who has benefited from what you guys do. This is a young lady. Her name is Christy. She's had double mastectomy, and she's gone through she's had pancreatic cancer. She had it several times, and she raves on what you guys do. How did you start the Red Slipper Warrior Project?
Well, it's kind of morphed out of originally I lost my wife, Angie, to cancer back in 2012, and we started a concert series because Angie loved live music. We love charity, and what a natural legacy to give her is to continue something like that. And Red Slipper Warrior Project came because we just saw so many things when Angie was being treated that were not addressed. Doctors give you fantastic medicine. They can cure your cancer. But they sometimes miss the mark a little bit on that emotional support.
Yeah.
And that's what Red Slipper Warrior Project focuses on, is that emotional support and reminding you you're still you. You're still beautiful. Cancer does not define you. You define you. And then we also tap into that, creating that warrior spirit, that warrior mindset, because you got to have that. I'm an old SWAT team guy. And that's one of the things we had to do. We're going in someplace we really don't want to do things we really don't want to do. It's exactly the same for women going through cancer, men too. But going into cancer treatment, let's go in like it's a SWAT mission. Hey, we're going in hot. Let's win this thing. And that's really where it started.
Red Slipper, what's that about?
Well, I wanted to come up with some sort of a physical item that would remind women you're still beautiful, you're still the same person you were. And I thought back on something Angie told me years before she was ever sick. We were walking down the street, we were looking to a shoe store, and she was just drooling over a pair of shoes. And I said, sweetie, seriously, you have 100 pair in your closet. I'm not griping. Get them if you want them. But my goodness, how can you be that excited over a pair of shoes? And she looked at me with that, oh, you poor simple man look that I got a lot. And she said, shoes always love you. And if I don't feel good about myself, I don't feel cute, let's get me some cute shoes. And after she died, I realized, you know what? Cute shoes don't really care about. Cute shoes don't care if you've had a mastectomy or if you're bald because of chemo or any of the other lousy symptoms that come from chemo treatment. Cute shoes don't care. Cute shoes always love you. So we make sure that they get these blingy, super sequined up slippers as just kind of a symbol of their beauty and of their self-awareness.
So then you guys, one of the things, by the way, our guest Tim Tinnin, Red Slipper Warrior Project, big concert Saturday night, 7:30, Cap Region MU Healthcare Amphitheater. Joe Nichols, you know the dude, Tequila Makes Your Clothes. He's got a whole bunch of songs, but the one I know, Hannah, is Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off.
Go figure.
Well, because country music, I don't get to listen to a lot of country music, and that's the one I know. But what do you guys do then now? How are you supporting cancer patients?
Well, we're a nonprofit, a 501c3, so we're always taking donations. Those help, but we've always kind of wanted to give something. Like, hey, let's create an event where you come, you have a great time. You know, you pay to come to see our concert, but we take the money that we make from the concert and we dump that into this, and that helps fund all the work that we do. So these concerts are really important.
So you're buying slippers and things for women?
Yep, slippers and go bags, because it's kind of a SWAT mission. Put your stuff in there. We're going in hot. And then for little girls who really don't understand SWAT so much, they get the slippers, of course, and then they get a bunny that has the exact same red blingy slippers that she's got to hug on, because a lot of times kids don't get to go home. They have to be treated and stay there because chemo's so toxic they have to be monitored. And so if mom and dad aren't there, they always have something they can hug on that is wearing the same slippers as she is.
Our guest, Tim Tinnin, Red Slipper Warrior Project, getting ready for the big concert Saturday night. Joining us this morning on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Tim, talk to us about the venue, the amphitheater in Jefferson City, and what that's added to the mix for you guys.
Gosh, what a gym that is. This is the third season for the amphitheater out there, and they have just gone all out. And it's amazing to me. I'll have people say, I've not ever been out there. And it's just it is a gym and sometimes a hidden gym. But when people go out there, they're really wowed. It's a really neat aspect of Jeff City, and they're able to bring in some great concerts, and Joe Nichols is one of them.
And how do folks get tickets for the concert Saturday night?
Saturday night at 7 p.m. is when we start. You can go to Ticketmaster. You can go to redslipperwarrior.com. You can go to the venue and pick up tickets there. We've got tickets available, and like I said, this is how we do good things for women and little girls. So we need folks to come out and support it.
Good concert, redslipperwarrior.com. Joe Nichols, Saturday night outdoors. And by the way, looking so weather temps in the 70s all week. Right now, it's looking that way up through the weekend. That's going to be spectacular. Recent story about somebody that you've helped, young kid or anything like that.
Well, we just started at MU for the Children's Oncology Unit. We just delivered our first 9 packages up there, and we took care of a little girl, and they just sent us a picture with mom's permission, of course, of her holding the bunny and the slippers, and it will absolutely melt your heart. That is exactly what we want to see happen. And it's
how'd this little girl react?
Apparently, she lost her mind. She's apparently just a big bunny freak, and she just loves rabbits. And she gets the bunny, and there's also a book about a bunny that goes with it. And the doc, before he gave it to her, said she's going to freak out. And apparently she lost her mind when she got it. So
I
that's
love that.
great.
And I wanted to ask about that because it's so when you go to this concert Saturday night, when you get on to redslipperwarrior.com and you buy tickets, the end result of you buying that ticket and seeing an incredible show, and there's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening during the show, but the end result of you buying that ticket is this little girl in this hospital right here in mid-Missouri who lost her freaking mind over getting a stuffed bunny rabbit. That's why it matters. And I want to ask, and if this is too personal, tell me, but I wanted to ask this before I let you go. And your current wife, Kit, she is just as passionate about this project as you are. What's that like? So you've got the current wife working on a project with the wife you had that died of cancer.
Right.
What's that dynamic like?
You know, she's one in a million in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that's one right there, because I don't know that a lot of women could do that.
Yeah.
But she is absolutely full tilt on board. She works her tail off to she always says, "You're the wow, I'm the how," which is kind of silly because she's very much a wow.
She's both. she's the wow and the how.
Yes, she is. But she's wonderful, and she works her tail off, and we make a really good team.
What was that conversation? Did she say, "Hey, I want to help with this," or did you say, "Hey, this is what I do. Do you want to help?" How did that?
Well,
and again, if I'm being too, I'm just really curious.
No, it's you probably don't have time for the whole story, but
I don't.
but it was I started kind of talking to her about it, and she said, "Well, tell me more," and I did, and this was when I was just wanting to meet her, and she fell in love with it, and then subsequently fell in love with me.
How about that?
Yeah, I got really lucky.
You're a lucky man. Tim Tinnin, Red Slipper Warrior Project. Check it out. That's all I'm asking. RedSlipperWarrior.com. Joe Nichols, Saturday. Coming up this Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Capital Region MU Healthcare Amphitheater. You can get tickets there and help a really, really good cause, man. I appreciate you coming in, Tim, and I appreciate what you guys do. I really believe in what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Brandon. We love coming in.
Yeah, and the smile on the little girl's face with cancer, losing her mind over a bunny rabbit.
That's everything.
That's why we do it. Coming up a few minutes from now, Morning Bell Business News, a little twist. By the way, Stephanie Bell's going to be back later this week. 3 things to know if you want to retire in your 50s. Plus, we'll look at futures 5 minutes from now.
She'll start by kicking that.
25 time for the Morning Bell. Business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. Steph is back, I think, on Wednesday. Right now, looking at futures, everything is up and in the green this morning. So a couple of things if you are thinking about retiring prior to 62, 65, 67, or whenever it is that you think you can retire. But some things you want to know, 3 big things you might want to know if you're trying to retire in your 50s. And I'm sure you're working with somebody really good. Don't do this today. Don't go to your financial advisor and say, hey, I heard that Branden Rathert on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, he was doling out financial advice for retirement.
Yeah, do we need to air one of those really fast-talking disclaimers?
Don't do that. But are some things that I do know from chatting with my dad over the years and some other valuable resources. So if you want to retire in your 50s, and you probably already know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You may not be able to access your savings without penalty. Money that's kept in an IRA or a 401k plan can be withdrawn penalty-free once you reach the age of 59 and a half. But if you want to retire earlier in your 50s, generally you're going to face a 10% penalty for tapping your IRA or your 401k prematurely. You don't want to tap anything prematurely there. If you're able to plan ahead for an early retirement, you can potentially get around this issue by keeping a portion of your savings in a taxable brokerage account, which isn't restricted. But if you decide at the age of 52 you want to retire and all of your money is in an IRA or 401k, you're not going to have a whole lot of options. The other thing you're going to have to do, healthcare, because Medicare eligibility begins at age 65. So if you're going to be retiring in your 50s, you're going to be a long ways off from enrolling. So you got to figure that out. It can be quite expensive if you're retiring in your 50s while your spouse is still working. You could tap into her plan. Who's going to do that? Is there a married couple? Would this be a thing? I don't know that this would work. Like the couples in their 50s, they're plodding along and the dude's like, oh, I'm set up. I'm going to retire while she continues to work, or even vice versa. Would that work in a marriage?
I think so. I mean, I feel like very rarely do spouses retire at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Would strike me as odd. And then you're going to have to wait a long time to get Social Security if it's even here. Many experts predict it's going to be gone by the year 2035. Why don't they just end Social Security now? If you're on Social Security, you paid into it, you get it. But when these people start working, quit taking money out of people's paychecks and putting it into a BS program. Just quit doing it. I don't understand the distaste for that. Just quit doing it. Keep doing whatever we got to do to fulfill the obligations. Now, there's got to be a way to quit doing this. Let people keep their own money. Studies have shown 1,000,000 times. Gary Nolan hosts the Gary Nolan Show weekdays at 9. He's all over this, man. Everything shows you would make more money. You take all that money that the government is taking out of your paycheck and you invest it on your own, you would have way more money. Cannot understand why they want to do. Well, I know why. Part of it, I think, it's that control. And to an extent, still control if you're collecting Social Security. But if you retire at age 54 and a few years later, what happens then? So one of the things you want to do, obviously, you've got your savings. You want to have cash savings because things you want to look out for. What if another Democrat gets elected president and the market starts tanking? I mean, these are all things that we are not complaining about. We're saying these things because we have history that says that is what happens.
That's a good spin.
You like that?
Yeah, that was good. That's tactful.
Recover nicely there, Marsh. All right. Coming up a few minutes from now, there's governor in New Mexico.
The 22nd anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost on that tragic day in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Memorial events are planned across the country to honor the victims.
And a day of remembrance, and a day of doing stuff, like a Patriot Day, day of action, getting out and doing stuff. And I kind of like what we've done with this, because and I'll be honest, and I hope I don't offend anybody here, but I remember vividly where I was that day. I remember how much it sucked. I remember the personal things, and I was in the midst of a divorce at that time, and we had a kid who 5 days later had a birthday after 9/11 while the world was in shock. And we're trying to get divorced and put on this big old party for this little kid who didn't understand the scope of what had just happened. It was a horrible time. I remember that. But I love the idea, day of service, getting out and doing something for somebody else. But even on the TV, we've got a bank of televisions here in the studio, and everything is. Hannah, does it sound callous? Because I don't want to see him, because it gives me a sick feeling. But does it sound callous?
I don't think it sounds callous. Okay. I think there's probably several people listening right now going, "Yeah, I agree."
Marsh, what's your take, man?
Well, I think it'd be a good day to go thank a first responder.
Amen. And especially now, first responders getting through the Missouri legislature this year, they can now be eligible for PTSD benefits through workman's comp stuff, which is, especially we're talking, these frontline responders. And I asked somebody a question the other day, somebody who is a frontline responder in a higher up position, and I wondered about a couple of local police chiefs specifically, and I don't know what's going on in their stories. But I wonder if they had been able to get some of these benefits, if maybe whatever it is that happened to those two folks, if maybe things would have turned out differently. I don't know. But yeah, and there's events going on all over today, but I'm just one of those. It just, as I see it on the TV, I don't need to see the towers crumbling, and gosh.
I think about our local folks, Task Force 1, now Jefferson City Fire Chief Matt Schofield. They were literally part of the very first national responders who were on the ground at Ground Zero, and immediately in the days immediately after. So they have some stories to tell, and something they'll never forget.
They are. And Branden, I understand what you're saying, and I'm torn, but it was so horrific. We have young people that are 22 years old right now, 18 years old. They weren't alive when, or many of them weren't alive, or they were too young to remember. We have a big portion of the population that doesn't even remember it, and how horrific it was. I would make the argument it needs to be shown at times to remind people of how horrific it was. That was evil. Evil, I believe, is what President Bush said. But locally, I don't think John will remember this, what people will forget is that Governor Holden, and he confirmed this for me later, not at the time, there were worries that we didn't know what was going to happen. There were worries because Missouri, in the middle of the nation, that someone would attack the Callaway nuclear plant and also Bagnell Dam. Those were two potential targets, and I know that he was concerned about it. It turned out it didn't happen, but it was a big deal. And I also remember for days, maybe weeks, they were worried about another attack, and that never happened as well. But just a horrible
crazy
thing.
Time. So there's some cool, positive remembrances, things you can do. And I just don't want to see the TV and stuff like that. Welcome to the show. It's Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There's Brian Houseworth.
Good to see you, sir.
There's producer Hannah.
Hello.
John Marsh is here.
Yes, sir.
Stephanie's going to be back later this week. My name is Branden Rathert. Phone number is 874-9390. Travis, welcome into the show. What's up, bud?
Oh, not much. I want to start out by saying, I do remember 9/11. I remember going to Jeff Jr. and seeing it on TV, and that was it's quite the event.
Yeah, it was something else. And the other thing I think of too is like producer Hannah, who was I think one at the time.
Yeah, not quite a year and a half old.
Not quite a year and a half old. So somebody like Hannah, who has been, that's what she has known. She technically, I guess, she was alive but didn't experience it. So that perspective, and then the perspective of folks like us. What else is on your mind, Travis?
Well, on a little lighter note, did get to see some little people doing some pretty amazing things.
Oh, did you go to the extreme midget wrestling of dwarf and micro wrestlers?
The only failure that they had was on the promotion to get people there. Once you were there, it was completely different than anything that I expected.
Now, what was
these guys are pure athletes. I mean, they did some amazing acrobats.
So they were playing. They played Cairo. They were in Columbia. They were in Joplin and Rolla, Phelps County. I mean, this tour has been all over.
They
the place.
do have another one. They have another one. They have 3 more here in Missouri. Farmington, Springfield, and Cairo, I believe, are still available. Yeah. And quite honestly, if you haven't been, it's worth the drive to any of those locations.
So now, do you enjoy wrestling anyway?
No. No.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right.
Quite honestly, I went because I thought it was going to be a spectacle. I thought of it, as a circus, as a show, as something that was, not to be taken seriously, and that did not give them credit. I mean, these guys are athletes, and they are trying to put on a show. How entertaining and how amazing that show was. I would never go to a regular wrestling event, but I'd go to this tomorrow.
Amen.
I mean, it was inclusive. I saw Branden there in disguise. I see that he shaved his head again today, but
Travis, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to call in and share what that was like, the Extreme Dwarfinator Wrestling, which has been all over mid-Missouri this week. We appreciate you being a part of the show, bud.
Y'all have a great day.
All right, I appreciate that. See,
That's good stuff.
He evolved on the issue. He says, I was going, expecting a spectacle. He's like, I was impressed.
Yeah, and I don't know if he means, because we mentioned Farmington, so I'm wondering if it's Cairo, Illinois, or if it's Cairo, Missouri. If it's Cairo, Missouri, that's just up the road north of Moberly. I'm not sure, but I certainly have heard from other people who've gone to those events.
Somebody else went. Jamie texted, the midget wrestling changed my life. Greatest day ever. Jamie, we appreciate the text. 874-9390. Danny says tickets go quick for the Tiger tailgates in Jefferson City, Big O Tire in Jefferson City, so make sure you get this. I think we put those out on Wednesdays prior to the Big Tiger tailgate, which we are doing Saturday. It's going to be a 9 o'clock start time for the tailgate in
Get there early.
Yeah, it was, man, it was crazy Saturday. He was like, man, why is there so many people here? I said, well, when you give away free booze and food, that's kind of what happens.
And I want to make one very quick point about that, too, and you brought it up, and I know people have asked about it. The Columbia Public Works told me, and it's on their website, on the return trips from Faroe, they were going to start the trip, and I linked to it on our website. It's the official website of Columbia Public Works with the date. They were going to start the trips at the end of the third quarter.
So this is in reference. There's a shuttle service. You can go to places like Flat Branch prior to the game, get a free. Well, it's not free. If you pay taxes, you're paying for it, but you don't have to pay admission there. Sure. Anyhow, they go and drop you off there. I think like at Tiger and Hospital Drive, something like that. The website, gocomo.com, on their website, says buses will start departing from that same spot at the end of the third quarter.
Correct.
So I got me and my party, and we're going and we're waiting, and bus drivers start coming in there third quarter, and it's like, no, we don't leave till the end of the game. I'm like, your website says third quarter.
Correct.
Nope, fourth quarter.
How come you were trying to leave early anyways?
I don't stay for the whole. This is boring.
In the traffic, and
yeah.
you can catch it. I understand what Branden was doing, but the bigger concern is I don't know if it was communicated to the drivers after the ceremony. I'll try to get in touch with John Ogan, but I know they have always said that, and I've heard it before. Others have told me they have taken the shuttle, and it's picked them up at the end of the third quarter. So I don't know what happened Saturday.
Well, hopefully it was, just a lack of communication.
We know what those are like around here.
We do. We're really good at that. But when you have, and there were a lot of people that were upset. If you're saying on Go Como's website, third quarter, and all these folks are over there waiting on all these buses, and you have a bus driver saying, no, it's the end of the game, And here's the thing.
Wow.
The city of Columbia, it's the government entity of Columbia. Their reputation precedes them. The parks, schools, things like that, and now this. So they don't enjoy necessarily a good reputation. So when something happens like that, where you go and, hey, your website says right here, Mr. Bus Driver, is GoComo website, is that your all's website? Yeah. Okay, see that where it says end of the third quarter? Yeah. Nope, end of the game. Okay, which is wrong? You or the website? Who's got it wrong here?
So what I'm hearing is you got crabby with the bus driver.
Well, I really behaved myself. I said,
do we need to call the bus driver and confirm this story?
I have people.
Loyal Tigers stay to the end of the game, win, lose, or draw.
Nah. I've never stayed for an entire game. I don't. But anyhow,
even when there's been some we were ready to bail much earlier, right?
And this was really one of them. Their failure to stop this other team on third down booze. One of our listeners texted and said, "I didn't hear any boos. I heard
there were definitely
because they couldn't stop these guys on third down. So
there
hopefully,
were a few boos, but it was Branden, for sure the website was.
Oh, yeah.
The website was correct. I'm not sure who communicated to the bus driver or whatever. Maybe something's changed, but no, I don't think so. The website is correct. They always start to pick them up at the end of the third quarter.
And of course, the best part about this Saturday's Tiger Tailgate is that I will be there.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm thanks for the applause, Brian. I appreciate it.
Are you going to the game?
I am not.
Wait, well, hold up.
It's the big Ozark Ham and Turkey Festival in California I got to get back for.
So I get questioned for leaving early from the person who's not even going to the game. Coming up, we're going to be doing some leftovers here on the show. Some of the cool things we did not get a chance to get to. Legendary Mid-Missouri high school football coach, what he told KRCG. Can't wait to hear this. We'll do that 5 minutes from now. is going to be honored tonight. Scott Faughn and Missouri Times, Missouri Soybean Producers Association. So they're doing the roast of a couple politicians, Mr. Dan Hawks, and another guy. But they also honor 30 under 30. So people kind of in the political realm that are doing things. And typically when you get honored, you're supposed to be surprised. But Hannah told me last week, she says, hey, I'm not going to that thing. And then I thought about it for 2 hours and went back into our studio. And I said, Hannah, you should be there. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, that wasn't a dead giveaway at all.
I didn't know what else. I didn't know how to handle it, John.
Well, can I also say, like, the whole list was released over the weekend of who else is being nominated or was nominated. And it's a lot of, like, really important political, like, Capitol interns and all these other people. And then there's me.
But you know what? You chat with, so a Capitol intern, they might talk with and deal with that one state representative they work with, maybe a couple of others. But you deal with the governor. You talk to the lieutenant governor. You deal with Jay Ashcroft. You deal with all these people on a pretty regular basis. So Hannah's going to be honored tonight. So if you're going.
And thank you for nominating me.
You
by
are.
the way.
That's great. Good for you.
You are.
Thanks.
Thank
Makes
you,
us
John.
all look good.
Yeah, I put in for the nomination thing. I put in a bunch of gratuitous plugs for the show and the radio station.
I noticed that some of those got cut out.
So that is happening tonight. And guess who else, by the way, is going to be there tonight? Chris Arps, our regular.
Is he?
Yeah. Chris Arps, who joins us every Tuesday. He's got a website, chrisarps.com. This dude knows Missouri politics. He's going to be at the event tonight.
Is he going to hang out with us Tuesday morning in studio?
I don't know. That's what we're working on, apparently. So now that he's now got a radio show in St. Louis, so he's doing his, he's coming to see you. He's coming to honor you, too, I meant.
Oh, how nice of him.
So, yeah, maybe he'll come in studio tomorrow, which would be really cool, actually, if he could hang out for a while.
Yeah, he could bring us breakfast.
Breakfast and all that.
And pumpkin spice lattes.
Good stuff. John, did you play for Coach Pete, Jeff City?
Well, to quote Coach Pete, yeah, Marsh was out there.
I love this over the weekend. Pete, he turned 99 years old. I would, if somebody was, how old do you think Coach Pete is nowadays? I would have said, I don't know, maybe 85 or something. Chatting with Rod Smith, sports director at KRCG, and Coach Pete, man, he's still got it.
There's a lot of people know how old I am, Rod, and that is really unbelievable. I could hardly remember myself how old I was. I'm not sure if that's the right date or not, but that's what we're going to make a call on it. If I had to do it over again, I'd like to start coaching tomorrow.
I like it, and if I had to do it over
too,
yeah. I get right back to it.
That's one of the things I appreciate. So I was born in the year 2000, and I've always joked that when I'm older, hopefully that'll help me remember my age. Just going off of the year.
The math is easy when you're born in a year that ends with zero. And at one time, they won like 71 games in a row under his leadership. Just impressive. Coach Pete turning 99 over the weekends. What do you got for leftovers, Marsh?
Well, we're still looking at how a couple of aircraft-related incidents went down on Sunday, but everybody was okay. A couple guys are okay after their small plane made an emergency landing in a bean field near the Moberly Airport when they ran out of fuel. They'd left Columbia Regional and ended up in the bean field, but they both walked away. Another guy uninjured or minor injuries at the very worst after crashing a powered hang glider into some power lines near Fortuna Sunday night.
Hannah, have you ever run out of gas? I would always think it's kind of embarrassing to run out of gas. You got to call somebody, or you got to walk down 63 with the red can and get some gas.
I can fact check that and say that yes, it is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Especially when the Montauk County Sheriff pulls up behind you. It's like, hey, what's going on?
But what is it like when you run out of gas in an airplane? That's got to be beyond.
Kind of hard to pull over, isn't it?
Yeah. Everybody apparently was okay. Also in leftovers, we were talking about one of our listeners, Travis, called in. He says he evolved on the issue of this extreme